Alberta Primetime with Michael Higgins.
Welcome to Alberta Primetime. Ahead tonight, our Friday panel on separatism concerns hitting national headlines. But first, driving tourism.
This is the most important part of the meeting. We're discussing skiing options in BC and Alberta, and I have to say, with all due respect to Eastern skiing, there is no comparison. There is no comparison to skiing in the Rockies.
I think we've got so much common ground. I'm inspired by David Eby's resort strategy, and so I was just in Whistler, and we're going to try to build a few more ski resorts in Alberta.
Comments from the Premier on opening the door to more tourism in our province through resort development. Comments that come in the wake of all-season resort designations for Castle, Fortress and Nikiska. And joining us now, Darren Reeder, President and CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta. Mr. Reeder, sir, welcome to Alberta Primetime.
Well, good afternoon. Great to be with you.
All right. So what do you see the Premier signaling here? What could the build-out of more ski resorts represent to the tourism industry in our province?
Well, I think it'll be a big boon to Alberta's future tourism plan. Clearly, there is a provincial strategy for a $25 billion tourism industry by the year 2035. And this idea of additive experiences, additive resorts that the international community and, of course, our own citizens would look at as being evolutionary is going to be key to incentivizing people to want to experience these things. So I think what we're doing is just trying to take a page out of what British Columbia has done very well, quite frankly, over the last 2 decades, and say, let's get on with it here in Alberta. We have some of the most majestic usable landscapes for outdoor recreation on this planet. It's high time we treat tourism and outdoor recreation as what it is, which is part of Alberta's natural resource economy.
Yeah, it's been some time since a significant ski resort has been developed in Alberta. Is this the shift in policy something that's long burbled below the surface, something developers have been clamoring for, or is this a whole new push policy-wise?
Well, it's both. I think investors have been looking for the certainty, and from a public policy perspective, what we've lacked for is the clarity that says development and appropriate use of the landscape for outdoor recreation is something we would consider economically appropriate to do. So investors are never going to look. It doesn't pick your industry. It doesn't matter. Are never going to look at investing in your province if there isn't clarity about how land can be accessed and developed. And this is what we've lacked for years where it relates to tourism. Crown land has favored our traditional industries and the how we develop them. There's largely been no objection to tourism activity that has happened for years, but certainly no public policy lens on the how we can do things differently to match what other markets are doing around the world.
Do you see this opening up new tracts of land or building out around existing tourism communities, existing developments?
Well, with the designations that you had mentioned of Fortress, Nikiska, and Castle, it's very much existing to start. So these are places that have been identified in the legislation. That's really clear to note for listeners that designation within the Act does not mean approval. The process does not replace the requirements under the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act, Water Act, or other acts that have cumulative effect requirements and review from proceeding. So Indigenous populations need to be consulted. The public have their opportunity to comment on these proposals and whether they align with Alberta goals and objectives. So I think the transparency is absolutely there, but it's the certainty that the investors have about how to approach their projects that has made all the difference. And I think it's going to be transformational if we look at this landscape in 3 to 5 years' time.
You mentioned BC a bit earlier, and in that clip off the top, we heard the Premier referencing BC's resort strategy. What do you feel Alberta could stand to learn from our neighbours to the west in this regard?
Well, everything, quite frankly. BC has 13 all-season resorts. Alberta has nothing. This was really a push by the BC government nearly 30 years ago to be leaders in the outdoor recreation space on a global level. We would argue from an Alberta perspective, they've largely been successful. But that's come at Alberta's expense because we have a number of Albertans. I mean, we have 5 billion Albertans today. Almost double what we had 30 years ago, not quite, but close. A lot of that spending is occurring by Albertans in British Columbia. And we've kind of marveled at this idea that we should have opportunities for Albertans to experience world-class resorts in their own backyard. So some of this is about economic rebalancing. It's about trying to create Alberta jobs and investment opportunities that support Albertans' growth priorities for the future. So we're really excited to learn from what BC has done very well, and full marks to them for the work they've done over the years.
All right, Darren, maybe on another front, it's been announced that come November, there will be a new nonstop flight linking Calgary and Abu Dhabi, the only a direct Western Canada connection to the United Arab Emirates. What do you see driving that development and the kind of impact it could have?
Well, I think what's driving the development is, the province's focus on trade development offices around the world where we think we have market potential. As I understand it today, we do about $250 million a year in trade with Dubai, which arguably is not a lot when you compare it to the value in US dollars. There are a world of opportunities, quite literally, and opening the market further to working with Abu Dhabi and the whole UAE. This is a market, if we look at it, within about an 8-hour flight distance or reach within the UAE, you can reach over 80% of the world's population. So the markets of Africa, Asia, and Europe are hugely important to inform the growth of tourism for Canada as a whole, but certainly to Alberta. So we've often marveled at this idea that selling to the world starts with the idea of having direct air access. So yesterday's news is monumental to opening access to a part of the world where we're just beginning to scratch the surface of our trade potential, to say nothing of the reciprocal opportunities for travel.
It goes without saying, tourism already represents a significant element of our economy here in Alberta. What do you realistically now see it being grown to in the years to come? I know you mentioned $35 billion by 2035. What are you really anticipating?
I'm anticipating it's possible. $25 billion is the provincial target that's been set. We were at a high watermark for tourism pre-COVID, so at about $10.1 billion, which we thought was doing okay, but certainly not leading relative to markets like BC. But if you measure it based on 2024 values, we were about $14.4 billion. I think we're going to be closer to closing in on $15 billion, maybe a little bit more when 2025, the books are closed on that year. So that's 150% growth just coming from pre-COVID work, 6 years ago. So as we cast forward another 9 years, it's entirely in the realm of possibility as we start to add things like all-season resorts and the spending and job creation potential of those that we will meet and possibly exceed $25 billion. So I'm incredibly optimistic. And again, that this is due in part to the confidence of investors in the investability of Alberta, but also this Alberta government that has finally got in the lane of understanding that tourism and outdoor recreation is part of the natural resource economy, and we need to invest in it in a way that provides long-term sustainable growth and job opportunity for Albertans.
All right, we'll have to leave it there for time. Appreciate your time this evening, Mr. Reeder. Thank you, sir.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Darren Reeder is President and CEO of the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta.